Hello. I'm laughing because I'm like, do we have a mic? And it was behind me. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be a casual talk with a lot of recognizable faces. I think most of you know everybody, but we are going to do a few little short intros and then one little bit longer intro. So as we begin, we're going to just start. Actually, yes, let's go ahead and, Noel, will you just give a little bit more, after you're done drinking, a little bit more of a background to who you are and what you do?
My name is Noel, and I build websites. I've been doing that since 1995, and that's been a good fun ride. And at some point I found WordPress, and then there was plugins, and there was custom post types, and then I really got hooked, and the rest is history. So here we are.
Thanks. And then Courtney, why don't you give a little bit more on you, your background?
So I found WordPress while teaching in a high school in 2005. So 2.3 maybe, began going to camps in 2009 and contributing at that time. Found the training team in 2014, started contributing heavily to the WordPress project at that time. Later on, we'll go back to teaching before jumping into being an open source developer advocate or handling developer relations at GoDaddy.
Awesome. John, go ahead and give your backstory.
Hi. Found myself in WordPress 2010. Got a client website hacked before I started working in this company. That was a long time ago. Asked for help, got help, and became part of the community. And worked with a few others to start Working Asia. It's been a privilege. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm sure most of us do recognize the three faces. And I guess technically I didn't introduce myself. I'm Raquel, and I actually founded a WordPress agency in 2010 and then exited and was the community manager for Elegant Themes for 6 years and just exited. And now I started my own WordPress events consultancy business. But what we really want to do is just showcase a new face, and we're going to introducing you all to Hong. So Hong, why don't you give a more extensive background and share with the community who you are and what you do?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Hong. Thank you very much for having me. So I'm actually recognize many faces in the audience, even though I'm connected with a lot of WordPress contributors. This is the first time I'm actually at a WordPress conference. So once again, thank you very much. So I started an organization called Force Asia. So this is an organization that advocates for the adoption and development of free and open source software in Asia. So the reason behind why we started this organization, my first connection to open source was back in university when I was a student back in 2007, and I got into like Linux user group in Singapore at that time and learned about like different open source technology. And I realized that open source has opened a lot of doors for me as a person that did not have a tech background. And I feel that it doesn't only create opportunity for people to connect, but also empower you with knowledge that enable you to achieve many things in your life. And I wanted to bring this opportunity to people in my country, which was Vietnam. So we started this organization. In the beginning, what we wanted to do is to create a platform where people can get together to talk about various open source projects out there where people can use, where people can contribute. And over the years, Force Asia has become a quite recognized organization here in the region. So we develop multiple open source software on our own, also on hardware. We run education programs. So we work together with universities around the region, Vietnam, Singapore, India, Thailand, Malaysia. So what we try to do is to get open source technology into education coming from the bottom up. We run our own coding program where young developers can learn by working together with mentors on real open source projects. And one last thing that I just want to mention before we continue, we run one open source conference for the past 16 years, which is the Open Source Summit, where we bring a lot of different organizations. So we have many WordPress speakers at our conference in the past, and different organizations will come together to introduce their solution to the wider community. And our next event going to happen in Bangkok next month, 13th to 15th of March, just for information. Yeah.
Awesome. We're so excited that you joined the panel. So welcome to our community.
Thank you.
So we know that our topic is future of WordPress. No, it is the future of WordPress, but we've been kind of having this angle of future of WordPress in 2030. That's what we're going to focus on. So what's crazy is that earlier as we were talking is it's 2025 and 2030 is in 5 years, and Courtney pointed out that 2020 was 5 years ago. And that is very, I don't know, just one of those check-ins in life that is felt, let's just say that. So we're going to focus on WordPress in 2030, and what we want to do is just kind of dive into the big picture. So let's start off with Noel. Noel, let's just get started on like blue sky. What do you see?
Yeah, let's dive in. Future's always fun. So I think to look forward in the next 5 years, or where are we in 2030? It's less about the features, and it's more about the currents, the movements of the overall project, and to figure out where we are there. Then it kind of makes sense to look back, and even looking back at, let's say, 2022, how many people are from the Philippines here? And if you know Rappler with Maria Reza, keep your hand up. Okay, so basically everyone. So during the 2022 elections, we were hosting and still host Rappler on our servers, and we were the only news site that still stayed online. So regardless if you agree or disagree with the media or whatever, it's so important that these news outlets do stay online during such critical moments, and when people go through trying to make informed decisions about their country's future. So that is something worth fighting for in terms of what we build and what we do. At the same time, in 2022, we also saw the full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine, which was very, very sad. And it's been incredibly heartbreaking. I spend a lot of time in Ukraine, and I've seen people, just like yourselves, become volunteers, combat medics, helping out at the local shelter, whatever it may be. Everybody is rising up, and when they're trying to help and support their country, they also look to technology. And technology is not always there to support you. X may derank you. Buy Me a Coffee will not allow you to be on the platform anymore. Patreon will not allow one of my charities to be on the platform. So we encounter a lot of issues. And in cases like that, I have seen an incredible growth of WordPress in that region, because people just grab that tool because that is the best available tool that they see there. Again, that is something worth fighting for. That is a piece of technology that is so useful because it allows people to communicate with the rest of the world. It's almost like a digital human right, and that is something worth protecting. So if you ask me, where is WordPress in 2030? It's not so much about full site editing, Gutenberg, or whatever feature. It's about maintaining this piece of technology you all contribute to and you all made happen, which is so integral to the world and humanity.
I love that. Courtney, do you have anything to add to the big picture of WordPress in 2030 that would coincide with Noel's assessment?
Yeah, the mission of WordPress is to democratize publishing, and that speaks to the free and open web. And we know that a lot of social media platforms can be walled gardens, or they can change their terms at any point and become a walled garden later. And the beauty with tools like WordPress is that you can host it in so many places. I even know, I think recently I saw, maybe it was JJJ or some other folks, we're hosting it on a Raspberry Pi at home. So there are ways that you can get really scrappy to host your site if you can't find a host that would be the right fit depending upon what your needs are, right? The ability to have a voice and communicate no matter what social media platforms come and go. I think we see that that is becoming that much more urgent. I also think that looking again towards the future in 2030, right now, those of you that are working in organizations that have hiring needs related to WordPress should be heavily investing into the training material available now so that by the time the talent has learned how to use WordPress and grown as a developer or a designer or any number of other areas related to it, that those folks are skilled up and ready, right? That's something that I believe very thoroughly in the job pipeline, and you have to reverse engineer the job pipeline. If you want to hire people that have the right skills, you need to work backwards and make sure that there's the right training materials. So give a plug for learn.wordpress.org always. But I really think that those are super valuable skills that will apply both to an employment environment, but also to a personal need to have a free and open web.
That's awesome. So with that in mind, WordPress right now, we're still 43%, right, Noel? Okay, so we've plateaued a little bit, and we're seeing that the importance of the software is the powerful tool that it is. It's open source, we get it by just using it, and we contribute to it, and it sustains. And on that note, sustainability. That's obviously a big part of what's going to keep this project moving. So John, what are your thoughts on sustainability in WordPress and seeing it in our future?
Can I talk a little bit about growth of WordPress?
Okay.
As well. No, because I see these faces here, right? And it reminds me of the vision that we had when we started WordCamp Asia. How many of you here is your first time listening to a foreign speaker from Europe or the Americas? Like, how many of you is your first time? Like, in WordPress? How many of you have met, like, one of the speakers and so on that you have saw online, like the founder of WPCUI, this person that you saw his nickname online and been able to hear them speak? How many people of you had listened to Google, speak at a live event for the first time? So all these things are things that we were very focused on to try to bring over to Asia, because I do believe that the next stage of sustainability, the next stage of growth for WordPress is in Asia. So the rest of the markets, Americas and Europe has had time to mature with WordPress. Yes. Lots of trust there. And then this is where the next stage of WordPress is at. And it's also up for us to actually ensure that the system that's been built is maintained, I guess. It's a little bit of what I want to share.
Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
5 years from now, I want to see more thought leaders from Asia speaking in Europe and America at our conferences. I want to hear the voices coming from Asia. I know that the talent is here. I know that the thought leadership is here. And I'm excited to spend time with all of you, but I'm also just as excited about the idea of not just being eager for people from lots of other destinations to come and spend time with you, but for you to mature into those spots where we are eager to bring you in to other parts of the world as well, and really make a big impact, because I know that you can. I know that it's there. And I think also to the sustainability piece, just to touch briefly, I'm going to give a plug for tomorrow. Hari and Izata are giving a presentation around the contributor dashboards project that's underway. And that brings some transparency to the project about who is contributing, how are they contributing. Right now we're gathering data from GitHub, but there are many other data inputs. And so if you want to see more transparency around contribution, that is a big part of sustainability. Do we have the contributor base to keep growing, to keep this project functioning? Please check the schedule for tomorrow, find where Harry and Izata are going to be, and get yourself to that one.
Yeah, I have to say that was even a learning point for myself, even coming here, and John expressed that, is that the APAC community doesn't necessarily have access to some of the brands and personalities that we've seen online from Europe, from the Americas, and that is really special. That is really special that this event's even happening by the blood, sweat, and tears of volunteers, and that you guys brought it here, and that we had even the government helping. I mean, even that in itself is an example of sustaining the future of WordPress. So maybe a little clap right there for that. And to Courtney's point too, because sometimes her and I are both from the US, and we could be just more so like blind about, first of all, ignorance and not even realizing the access that is not available, but also, you know, we want to see more APAC speakers as well. So I'm glad that there's like the opportunity for us to be able to be here and inspire, but at the same time, we can't wait to be able to see, you know, more APAC representation in Europe and in America. So on that note, as we're talking about sustainability and where we are today, Hong, do you have anything to add to like WordPress and what you see of, and I know especially because you come from all open source, right? And how do you see the future of WordPress and the importance of it, especially from somebody who uses multiple platforms?
Yes. So I think in the future, we should just see the closer connection and integration between WordPress community and the overall open source ecosystem. So in the recent development, you see a lot of not only the people within WordPress, but the cut between like back end, front end, and you see the integration with Next.js or integration with Vue.js and React.js. So when we talk about the community in 5 years of WordPress, it's not only like the poor WordPress contributors anymore, but the people in the wider open source ecosystem from different backgrounds. So this is one thing. But I also see that there is a development into integrating Web3 technology into WordPress, like the decentralized authentication. So that's what I heard. So we also see the collaboration between WordPress and Web3 space. So this is something I see in the future, and the whole bunch around like AI development. The thing that probably different from now compared to the future is the landscape of contributor base and user base could be much more wider than now. And touch on the sustainability that you mentioned earlier. There's a lot of different aspects that we can talk about sustainability, but I just want to emphasize one thing. We run our own open source projects, and I understand that it's always a big challenge to sustain the project in terms of keep people on board, increase the user space, and of course, getting funding to continue the work that we do. One thing that I find really important is how do we empower the next generation of users and developers. So I think that people need to get into open source, need to learn about WordPress from the very young age. So we don't need to wait until people on the university level or working adult to introduce them into open source technology. At Fox Asia, what we try to do is we collaborate with universities, high school, and even secondary school. We have a network of teachers, professors who are passionate about open technologies, connect with them and provide them materials so that they can introduce and try to integrate into their teaching environment. Yeah, and the focus, I would say, focus on the younger generation. How can we inspire them and get more people to use and contribute back to the open source in general?
That's really inspiring. I will say that that's something that on our side of the pond is severely lacking, is youth being interested in WordPress, especially with Wix and Squarespace and Webflow. And I mean, I know other agencies that they will pay money to migrate off of WordPress into Webflow against the developer's suggestion, but because it's easy for them.
Exactly. I want to add one point more. Do you know that some from Vietnam, in university in Vietnam, people actually teach the student how to use Wix in their curriculum. So they introduce the software. So there are a lot of software that a professor can introduce to their student, but why they have to choose a commercial closed source software to be introduced? Yes, there's always relationship between different commercial layout services with the education sector. So what we try to do is we do the bottom-up approach. We encourage the people in the community to introduce alternative, so because there's on a high level, we have people coming in and try to sell their service to the university, but then on the different spectrum, so there are more people who are passionate about open technology, and this is the people that we need to work with and give them the opportunity and empower them to bring more of free software into their classroom. Yeah.
I love that.
Can I give a shout out there related to this? If you haven't had a chance yet to check out the Campus Connect program and the work that Pooja and Anand, who are co-founders at WP Vibes, are doing in India, it is amazing. They are building essentially a mini WordCamp right inside of the universities, right? And so they're reaching out to computer science students at their universities and building out programs, visiting many different types of universities as well, to introduce those that are in a comp sci program that aren't getting WordPress. I come from teaching in boot camps. They're not teaching WordPress in the boot camps. They're teaching normal front or back end skills without giving space for a CMS platform and all of that, what that could look like or do. So India community, you're rocking it already, and I'm so excited to see where that program itself goes.
So, Noel and John, would you say that there is a lot more youth involvement in WordPress in APAC, especially compared to the rest of the world?
I don't know if I would highlight APAC in that regard. I just think that the larger challenge around WordPress is that it's probably not perceived as exciting. And that is what technology needs to be today. Attention is the scarcest resource you can have around, and to be able to command attention, let's say like a Next.js away from React, is incredibly powerful. And what we see is we see a lot of tools that have spent a lot of money in the last couple of years, be it Contentful or is a good example at the enterprise level. Webflow is a good example at the kind of SMB consumer level. Just taking away a lot of the attention and doing just a good job of product marketing. And I think that is where we've probably lost some ground. So we can try to push it into schools and try to do various outreach. But the devil advocate in me is saying we need to bring more to the table once we actually talk to these people. We need to either bring the excitement through the product marketing and say, okay, the product's good enough, we just need to market it differently. Or there's an approach around the actual features and how we provide these tools, because WordPress has become harder to use. The time to install for hosts has increased. So that there's definitely a degradation at that level that needs to increase in terms of onboarding and that 5-minute install from back then. How does the 5-minute install from 2010 translate to 2030?
Yeah, I think there is a lack of youth in WordPress, and especially in Asia. I actually haven't compared it to Americas and Europe, but I do think the idea of WordPress moving into newer technologies, Gutenberg, the blog editor, being really enhanced. In the future, hopefully Gutenberg will be pushed onto the rest of the admins. If you could be working with a newer language, if you could accept the React developers to join in, that could be a bit of a resurgence for WordPress, getting them excited. And I think that's happening, actually. And even right here, I can see there is a lot more young faces than I'm actually used to. So I think that's happening, and it's actually probably happening right under our noses. Yeah.
So let's pivot a little bit and talk a little bit on the technology side, especially when it comes to AI, which is a pretty big deal. I think we all agree. So maybe start off big picture a little bit, and what are we doing? Like, how do we leverage WordPress and AI and still have human-made sites? Did you see what I did there? I just told everybody I don't do dad jokes, and I just did. I'm sorry. Who wants to start?
What was the question? You caught me so off guard with this massive joke.
AI. Let's talk AI and WordPress. And what are we doing to keep WordPress here and relevant in 2030?
It's a good question. I think a lot of people are just trying different things. So we're seeing a lot of point features. And I'd say the overall market is at that place. So agentic AI is a big conversation point for the industry. But no ecosystem has cracked that code yet. There's no pressure for us to all of a sudden crack the agentic code for a solution as large as WordPress today, tomorrow, whatever that may be. So I think we absolutely need to do the work in terms of discovery and going down that path. But I think in the meantime, it's great that we're seeing so many point solutions and just experiments go out there. And I think that reflects the industry as a whole. I think it reflects the posture of governments not wanting to sign AI legislation because everybody wants to be on the forefront of the benefits and the upside. So everybody's just in a kind of, let's try to build, do more. So if anything, just have fun and build cool stuff. I think it's reminiscent a bit of the plugin boom we had in 2010, 2009. I think it's kind of similar to that. So seeing this kind of cyclical opportunity around what that may represent for WordPress and its growth.
Yeah, and just adding on to that, I think we've seen a lot of WordPress is pretty good at content publishing. It's probably one of its key strengths, I guess, being a CMS. But one of the things that's been happening across the years is using AI to generate content, and that's not been quite working out. And what I see as the future is making sure that AI is automating tasks to make it easier to use WordPress, to make the blog editor somewhat automated, but content should be still useful to human beings. I'm sure one of the Google Talks out there has talked about this, but I see AI helping us to do all the small tasks so that we can focus on what makes sense to the readers.
Yes, so I totally agree with John that so I see like very exciting development in the AI space, and AI generated content that make our job easier and work faster, and also can do like repetitive tasks like updating a plugins, but there are a lot of things that AI won't be able to do. So I think that the development of AI would not replace us human, but also give us space to focus on something more important. For example, Noah mentioned something that really important earlier about the user accessibility. Yeah. So when we want new user come to WordPress and want to host it on their own server, it's still challenging for the user. So this is something that requires of human. We need to come up with a strategy. So we have the AI generate the content for us, create the design for us, but we also need to tell the AI how to make it closer to the user experience. This is something that requires human. And customization. So human also require in terms of customize different system that fit different needs, because AI will not at the point not understand all the needs out there of individuals, and this is still require the input of humans. So what I see is so AI will not replace us. It just keep us focused on something more important in the future.
I think too a lot around how AI, people are afraid, will I lose my job to AI, etc. No, probably not, but it is changing our jobs. So I'll take you back to when I learned to begin coding. In Simple C, it was 1999, it was an evening class, it was Introduction to Programming. It involved paper and pencil. It was not in a computer lab, computers were not provided. I happen to have a good friend that lent me a command line CLI of Red Hat, and so it kind of matched what was on the screen. But that screen was dim because 1999 and an evening class. That's how I learned to code. And now, if I make a mistake and I can't find where that semicolon's supposed to be, that AI can tell me really fast. So I think about it from the education perspective of how it's going to change how we learn to code, how we learn to do some of these things. But I think also it is going to mean that junior devs need to skill up further than where they were 5, 10 years ago, right? The expectations of a junior dev are now going to shift to be understanding why the AI code is bad, rather than having them pair code and someone more senior help them find it. It will be on them to do a little bit more digging into why is the AI code maybe not as efficient as it should be. So I think that that's going to change some of the educational approach to it. You'll be able to level up faster, but you also have to understand sooner why that's good or bad.
Yeah, Noel, what do you have to say?
Just a small side note to what John and Hong said before about the automating work and kind of replacing some of our manual work with automations and workflows. I think that's almost table stakes. Like, we should be doing that anyway in a very rapid form. I think the really interesting opportunity, and that's where the excitement comes in, that's where the attention comes in, is if we're able to unleash a higher degree of creativity on the platform. So if taking a lot of the AI block builders nowadays, I'll be honest, I think many create unimaginative or just not very interesting blocks. Maybe the image is on the left, maybe the image is on the right, maybe it's 2 columns, the other one's 3 columns. Okay, great. It's just a bunch of layout, and the vibe from 10 years ago to today is still the same. Oh, that looks like WordPress, right? Everybody knows that feeling. So how do we create content that doesn't look like WordPress? How do we bring in the same vibe and experience that you have from a Midjourney, a Bolt, a Cursor into WordPress? And maybe that's an integration, maybe that's a part of WordPress, but to essentially be able to bring the outcome that these other tools generate into WordPress, I think is where the opportunity and the excitement is.
Well, I think we heard a lot of good tidbits, and we're going to start Q&A soon. So I will just summarize and say that we want WordPress. Do we not? Like, we want to see it last through 2030, and relevance is important. And so there's certain things that we want to keep in mind as we think about its relevancy: AI, community, and the infrastructure, and how easy it is for youth to get it. And I love Noel's point about we got to bring some attraction to it in a way we haven't been. So with that in mind, this is essentially the wrap up, and we want to start and open it up to questions. We don't have a terrible amount of time left, but if anyone has any thoughts or especially questions that we can actually help answer, feel free right now, go ahead and let's start that. Oh, do we have? Okay, yes.
Kaito.
Do we have? Yeah, we do.
Coming from behind. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Kaito from Japan. I was thinking how we were talking about AI and it helps with design and content creation. I'm wondering what folks think about designers, content creators, and maybe agencies that build websites. Is their work going to get enhanced by AI somehow, or do they might have to look for a new angle on the work they do? What do we think about that demography of WordPress users?
So in my previous line of work, I did a lot of design thinking. And within design thinking, there's a lot of prototyping, ideation, testing things out. And I feel like AI is great for that. You get the concept, try it out for 5 times, see how creations work. So instead of you having to jump into Figma or jump into Adobe XD and so on, trying to work it out bit by bit, you use AI to generate 5 different versions and prototype it with your clients. And I feel very strongly for that approach, whether it's design or whether it's code. Yeah. Sorry, did that answer your question?
We got another question.
how about authenticity of the work? Considering that most, not some or not most, but I know some content creators would usually just use AI to claim it as their own work. So how can we do arbitration for that kind of or those kinds of people that would use AI for their own personal gains rather than producing actual work or actual talent?
I mean, I guess if the thing they're producing is the outcome you're willing to pay for, what's the difference? I mean, that's, you know...
But that's still not their own work.
Oh, you're talking about plagiarism.
Yeah, plagiarism, yes.
Yeah.
And then just claiming it for their own.
Well, I think we did touch on it, is the importance of authenticity and leveraging AI as a tool to help our authenticity is big.
Yeah, I do that a lot itself, where I have a pile of ideas and they're not in a logical order, and I ask my AI agents to help me sort them out and present them more logically for people, but I have to give it a lot of information to get it to that point. So I think that's the difference of how much information am I preemptively giving something versus just saying like one short question and then write an essay for me, right? At that point, it's not my work. But when I have to prompt it a lot to do something and it helps make it more consumable for other people, I think that is still my work.
Yeah, I don't know if these help, but I think we all agree that we want to keep the integrity of our work and not plagiarize.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do wonder, though, to that same point about consuming AI, you know, over the years, if we look at the major search engines, they figure out that people game the search engines in different ways. If search engines detect it's a pile of fluff and that it's all spam bot AI kind of things, they'll find ways to downgrade that information that's not. Content spinning is not a new thing, right? And that's been around, oh gosh, I remember the early 2000s, people doing SEO and content spinning. They find ways to identify that that's what you're doing, and then they just penalize it, basically.
Yeah. There's a talk tomorrow about a recipe website that writes really authentic content. People want to copy them, but they are always staying ahead of the pack. So I think there is a way to keep your content to yourself and continue to be authentic, even if people are trying to copy you. It still works. Google is still going to rank you.
I mean, I think we're going to have to wrap it because I think, are even over time. But I will say that everybody up here, one more? Okay, yeah, if we do have one more. Anyone brave enough to be that person?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, I am Shamim from Bangladesh. My question is to Courtney Robertson.
You may have to speak up a little bit.
Okay, I am Shamim from Bangladesh. So my question is to Courtney Robertson that how can a junior developer think beyond AI so that they can know the AI code is not better than their custom code? So what would be your suggestions to junior developer how they can label their app to understand coding like JavaScript and PHP? And you know that React is also relevant to develop Gutenberg block. So what is your suggestions to junior developers?
I think we're asking about how junior developers
can make their level up to understand the AI code is not good enough. That's it.
Sorry, we didn't quite catch that. So junior software developers, how do they combat the rise of AI who may be taking their jobs, you know, because the AI can get it like simple tasks and simple coding stuff done pretty fast. Like, how do they stay in their jobs? How do they get the time to become senior developers, right?
yes,
With
exactly.
the AI
Exactly.
threat in place.
And not become dependent on AI.
Yes, exactly.
It's impossible.
Maybe Hong has a good idea.
So I think this is a good opportunity for junior developers because with AI, you can act like a senior developer now because a lot of the coding question that you don't have the answer, you can ask the AI. So we tried it out with our project before. There are a lot of automation tools, and I just saw yesterday that someone developed a tool that pick up GitHub issue and write a PR to fix that issue on GitHub. It's an open source framework, but based on an LLM model somewhere. So I think this is something that junior developers shouldn't be worried, but should you make use of AI to improve your skill and be faster in the scale of become a senior developer.
I think also about how, yes, a couple thoughts. One, junior devs that are in the middle of learning to become a junior dev, you can ask an AI bot, explain this to me in plain language, as though I don't understand it, or explain it to me as
That's
though
a good one.
I'm like in 8th grade, or something like that, so that you can understand the concept of what that code is doing that much faster. And then I think too, there was a second thought that was with this. Hold on. Sorry. It was kind of to Hong what you were sharing. Not just about asking and explaining it to me in plain language, but I think, when automobiles were introduced, no longer did we need people to operate a horse or whatever technology we were using before the automobile. Now, that did not take away necessarily from the overall job market. It just shifted, right? So there is just as many demands for the number of jobs, but the jobs shift a little bit as new technology is introduced. And that happens with every major type of technology that comes along, especially in communications. We don't need as much with landline phones in jobs these days, but we sure need a lot of people working in jobs that are related to mobile devices. So the invention of new technology doesn't negate that many more people still will need to be used in employment places in the future. It just shifts.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and close it and go about our evening, but I will say that everybody up here is passionate about the future, and we want to see WordPress be sustained. And so if anyone I'm going to volunteer everybody's availability that you can come up to anybody up here and ask even further questions. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and call it. So you guys, everybody have a good evening. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.